So yeah, welcome to the second episode of the ST podcast. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about us. Now, I already have my review up, so you can go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen it. But this is going to be a full-blown spoiler discussion. I'm not going to try to make this as long as the Captain Marvel thing or whatnot. And I have a lot to say about this movie, but it more has to do about like just what doesn't make sense. But this movie, it does do a lot right. Going into Jordan Peele's movies so far, you realize that there is a trend. I don't know if he's going to keep doing, keep having that, trend continue on through like his future films. But as far as we've seen it, his first and second film both have trends of like they have a surface thing, but underneath there is a hidden meaning. And that's kind of what you can put for us because it does have to deal with the surface and the underground. And one thing when I was thinking about everything for this spoiler review and just thinking about this movie is that I found a lot of stuff that was like plot holes and just certain things that just didn't make sense or, when you think about it logically. And as I started to think about one thing, it led to another thing, it led to another thing, it led to another thing. And so I had thought of a fun kind of like thought, which I know isn't true. I would be surprised as hell if it is true. So basically, as I thought about this stuff, ironically, pun intended, pun not intended, however you want to see it, I kept going down this rabbit hole of just things that aren't, right, that doesn't make sense about this movie. And it dawned on me, like, what if Jordan Peele made that? What if he made a lot of stuff didn't make any sense, that once you thought about it, you go down a rabbit hole, and I'm just like, that's genius. Because, it has to do with rabbits in the movie and stuff. And so I'm like, nah, he wouldn't do that. This is just like a mistake that he did. And what's crazy is that I don't know if he basically went about, making the film, knew that these mistakes were present or these like flaws and stuff were present. But he just like, you know what? I want to focus on the deeper meaning for it, which is maybe cool for him. But for a person like me, I even stated it up in my review, was that that's one thing that I just truly hate. Just like the whole thing with horror films, how a person does something stupid just to further the plot, open up that door that they shouldn't be opening, or they have a chance to kill a killer, they don't kill him, so they come back for one last hurrah. It's like you can make a person do something smart and still get the short end of the stick and further the story. And I wholeheartedly feel that way. And I just hate that about horror films. And that's the same thing I hate about filmmakers and what they do, is that a lot of times when they're trying to be artsy-fartsy, when they're trying to have a message, a hidden meaning in their movie, a lot of times what lacks is the realism. I'm not going to get into these movies because this is just a spoiler for us. But if you've seen The Babadook or It Follows, which, like, those, to me, I ain't going to say they closely resemble each other, but they kind of, like, symbolize what I'm talking about, because both of them have, like, on the surface, it's like a horror film. Well, Babadook more or less, but, well, for me, less. But those films on the surface, they're horror films. But when you look into the meaning of it, you start to understand what this represents, what's that represent, and what this represents, and it makes sense. But when you look at it as just a horror aspect, certain things don't make sense because they're focused on the metaphor, the hidden meaning, more than just the movie itself, what you're visually looking at. And that's what I'm saying about this movie. Because this movie, it has a lot of art to it. It has a lot of hidden meaning, stuff that's visually there that you can pick apart. Because there are videos on there like, oh, Easter egg this, Easter egg that, what this person said, blah, blah, blah. And all of it is amazing in filmmaking. But, and it all like connects to like the hidden meaning. But when you get down to just looking at it as a straight horror film, there's certain aspects of it that don't work. I could go down the line, but I'm gonna just mention a couple of them. Just the whole thing with like the clothes. How did they get similar clothes as the land dwellers? And then how did they get the jumpsuits? How did they get all the scissors, the same type of scissors? How did they coordinate all that? And like one person that I work with mentioned to me that yeah, she had 30 years of planning, but it was like, I don't know, that still seemed too unbelievable. If she was just that desperate to do that, I just don't know. I mean, people, when they're desperate, can go to like extreme lengths. To me, that just seemed like a really, 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 really extreme length. So you're telling me that she coordinated with all the tunnels all under the USA? It's just, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Somehow along the line, you're gonna get lost. So I don't know if there. I mean, there probably could have been a map through the tunnels, but I know all of them probably don't connect to each other. I don't know, but it's a lot of problems with that. And just, why didn't the government kill them? It's like I said, when you start to think about it and pick apart certain things, you can go down a rabbit hole, no pun intended, of just things that are wrong, like fundamental. How can I say it? Fundamentally wrong with the movie. And a lot of them you can look at it as like, oh, that's just a nitpick, blah blah blah. But I just hate how this movie forces you to think about one thing, but asks you not to think about another thing. Because if we're gonna think about this movie, those are certain things that are gonna arise, and I look at it as like a magician. He has you looking at it one way, but then he's doing something over here. So while you're focused on like the trick and how it's done, you're not focusing on just something else. And that's basically what this whole thing is. But this whole thing isn't going to be about me just talking about the flaws in the movie. I want to talk about some of the good stuff about this movie. So I feel like an idiot, watching this movie because from the reviewers that I watched, because I watched a couple of reviews before I even saw the movie, and then some after, and then even talking to my brother the other day about it. I feel stupid because a lot of them said the same thing. Oh, I figured out the twist, at the beginning of the movie, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And, they looked at it from that point on and was right all along. And I feel stupid because I'm like, how come I didn't figure it out? I mean, obviously, if you go back and look at it, it's kind of like just a little bit. I ain't comparing it completely to The Sixth Sense, but it's like I can look back at it because I saw it twice, and I'm like, maybe I should have figured it out because it does make sense. It wasn't anything really misdirecting. I just like how certain movies do that where, they put you in a sense where they put you in like a flashback and certain things slowly get revealed. One of them that actually comes to mind right now is Split. Split had that to where it's like certain things were slowly revealed throughout the movie. And a flashback of the movie or whatever, one of the characters. And that's basically what I thought that this movie was doing. But in looking back at it, and that was the switch, I feel like, yeah, he probably could have did it better. Now, given a person like me, just the person I went with, my friend Shay, of course we got fooled, but more than likely a lot of other people probably figured it out right at the beginning. So, I don't know if that's just a testament to, he probably could have done something better or, done it a better way. But, I guess it worked the way it should have worked because a person like me didn't figure it out. But in doing so, I'm just really going to have to talk about the flaws of that. But you know what? I think I'm going to come back to it and just talk about the things that I've, seen. So after watching YouTube videos of people talking about the movie, and it certain things make sense. It's so much to digest, and this movie does put forth of why I love film. A lot of people just look at it I go see a movie every day, or not every day, but every week and all that stuff. But I just love the whole thing of film, even though if I don't grab a lot of stuff out of the film, Easter eggs and stuff like that, just to know that the director went into lengths of putting this, putting that, all up in the film, it really gets me because I was watching the video I forgot what the channel was, but they were talking about all the Easter eggs that they found in this movie, and the why certain things happen, this and that. And so one person had mentioned the reason why she was eating fruit. And while I'm watching that movie, both times I did realize that Jordan Peele did put emphasis on her at the table when they first got to the beach house when she was just eating the strawberry. It put like a lot of emphasis, like the sound went out. And of course she went back into like her mind or her flashback, but just the way she was eating, the fruit. I'm like, it does put a lot of emphasis on it. And just the person was saying in the video that the reason why she was eating fruit and why everybody else is eating like burgers and stuff is because when she was younger down there, she had to eat, raw rabbit and stuff, which I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But, and so that basically turned her to just not want to eat meat. She wants to eat fruit and stuff. And so I'm like, that makes sense. Because literally, if you look at everything, you see everybody else, they got like burgers, like a fast food restaurant. They over there eating burgers and stuff like that. And she's the only person that's eating fruit. So, I mean, and that right there is one thing that I do like about what he did with the whole thing. So if you didn't figure out the switch, this is kind of like comparable to the Sixth Sense. Like you can go back and look at, like, there's a twist that happened, a person ain't who you think they are. Then you go back and you can like look at that scene and be like, it was staring me right there in the face. And that's one thing that I do love, is that when a filmmaker just puts something right there in your face that tells you that this person is what they're supposed to be, or what you think, what you see on screen isn't what it is. It's like you can be like, man, they were telling me right there, putting it dead in my face, and like I just did not recognize it. And so yeah, that scene was ingenious. That scene was really, really ingenious. And then the whole thing of like foreshadowing with the daughter driving, which is a scene that I truly hated. And this movie does have some scenes where characters do a lot of stupid stuff, or I ain't gonna say a lot, but a few stupid stuff. Like there's like that scene, and I get like the whole thing of like, I guess you could say it was kind of intense. I don't know, like not to me with the whole daughter driving and then her doppelganger hops in the car and stabs it and blah 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 and all that stuff. I'm just thinking as I'm like like watching this, like why don't she just drive real fast, stop, and then have a fly off and then drive forward and run her ass over, like and it's like it took her forever to like stop. Like she had to stab the windshield. And then the top of the window over the sunroof, she had to stab that like twice. Like, it's like, why did it even get that far? So it was just like that scene. And even when she first got up in the car, and the mother got there and they was over here arguing like, I'm driving. I want to drive. I got the most kill count. It's like, what? You black. Why are you arguing? Like, I don't care who's driving. Me, you, him, her. I don't care. We need to get the hell up out of here. And you arguing about you want to drive? Like, that was just stupid. I mean, in this foreshadow, okay, cool. But that was just stupid. And then that scene happened where she did the doppelganger. And then right after the mother checked to see if the doppelganger of her daughter was dead, she was driving. Like, the mother was driving. So it's like that scene was just literally for that just one little scene. I can see if the daughter kept driving, then okay, cool. And then I can understand it. But it was like, it just wasn't needed. So I don't know. I just felt that just kind of like bugged me from the beginning, and then afterwards it did. And then just going along with the symbolism, like one of the things that I did notice was the whole when the what is it? The mother is on a beach and she's looking around and she sees that like one of the guys, one of the couple is playing, not playing, but like the couple, I guess you could say playing. And then I guess like the female, she buried the boyfriend or whatever under the sand, and like when she look over there, he comes up out the sand. And that's one of the things that is kind of like a clue to just the overall story, where you got the underground, underground coming up to the surface, that coming out of the sand is just a representation of that. That's one thing that I did like, and it's another it's a lot of other things. And one thing I picked up on the second viewing, which a person had stated, just a theory about the boy being switched. And I did kind of notice that he said that, so I guess you could take it either way. So basically, I'm not going to get too intricate in it because I forget all of what the guy said, but he posed a theory about the boy being switched, maybe like some years prior, and that the boy that they have isn't, the boy that, was born on the surface, that they switched him and all that stuff. And that maybe the real mother that was switched, at the bottom, she basically taught him how to speak so she could have that easy transition. Then somehow along the way, the real boy that got switched and put underground ended up getting burnt and blah, blah, blah. So you can look at that. But he did do something or say something that did make me think that maybe that could be true. Because when you seeing the kid play on the ground, and then one of the twin girls end up hitting his sand, whatever he was making, they was like, what is that? And then he's like, they're tunnels. So I had caught that. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And then when like dude had posed the theory of the boy being switched, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because it would make sense for him to make tunnels or something like that, or because that's what he's new to. He hasn't been on the earth too long, but he's old enough to know the tunnels and stuff like that. So that will be familiar to him. So he will make that. Or if you dispute that, and you can probably pick apart like this, no, this couldn't be possible because blah, blah, blah. If you don't want to believe that, you can just take it as maybe that was just a nod to the symbolism throughout the film that Jordan Peele put in there, where he just, it wouldn't make sense logically in the movie that he will make tunnels. But kids are weird. My son is weird. But that could probably just been a nod, another clue to showing that the underground dwellers are coming to the surface. And that would just put in there for us, the viewers. So I mean, you can take it however you want to take it. Another thing was the 1111 guy. Now, one of the things I had up in my spoiler when I was writing down my notes for both times I've seen it, it was like one thing that just kind of it was a head scratcher. I was thinking who was the guy, the homeless guy that the little kid saw on the beach with the bloody hand? And I was just like, who is this? Because it doesn't answer the question until I saw it the second time. And I realized, that he's wearing a yellow, or not yellow, but a reddish orange, whatever, jumpsuit. And in the movie, when they going toward the beach, who stabbed the homeless guy? The surface version of him is stabbed and being hauled into the hospital. Not the hospital, but into the ambulance. And then when you get to the beach, he has a bloody hand, and he's he's standing there, kind of similar to the Hands Across America, with bloody hands, just kind of soaking in the sun. And it died. I'm like, that's why. So the family versions of themselves wasn't the first, doppelgangers to come up on land. He, if not the first, one of the first ones to come up on land. And so it makes sense. I'm like, okay, I piece that together, because when you look at, his head, you see the 1111, and then it comes back again later on in the movie. So it makes total sense. But also, what else do I talk about? And yeah, I could say it was kind of an intense scene when the family meets each other, and they kind of just sit there and stuff. I would say that scene was done well with the music. Just the one thing that I have to not forget, because I didn't even write it down in my notes or anything like that. But that was one thing that I did notice about the score of this movie was really good. I don't know too much about I got 5 on it, but it did kind of work for me. Just how like they made the violin just sound so creepy, even at the end with the fight when she's like fighting herself or whatnot. I did like that, but like yeah, the music, just the regular score of it, really did work for me, really did, and it just made this scene intense, where the family is like playing around with each other before they kill each other and blah blah blah. But also to get in that, it's like another gripe that I have with this film, another stuff that makes sense is that, okay, if I'm gonna just call it like thing one and thing two. Thing one is the one that is the real version of the mother, the one that got taken from the surface and put to the ground. Thing two is going to, because it's so confusing. Thing two is the one that was underground and came to the surface. That basically, did all this stuff. So basically, why wasn't thing one telling thing two about it? Like, when the families met, why, like, just the story that she told, like the shadows and stuff, it's a creepy story and this and that, but when you know the truth, when you see the reveal, the twist and everything else, it's like, okay, that don't make any sense. Like, that exposition seemed like a person that don't know about, this that just know about the connection, that doesn't know anything about, like the switch didn't happen. She's telling a story like that, like she lived there all her life, which majority of her life was down there in the tunnels. But she's talking like she didn't get switched, and none of it is brought up. Not in that scene, not in the scene where like the family is chasing the other family, and not even at the end when they meet face to face, where she's giving exposition to it, to the thing too. And it's like, so you're not gonna mention at all any of her going onto the surface, grabbing you out of your home, or not home, but grabbing you out of your life, putting you down there to replace her so she can replace you. I'm just thinking like, if that happened to me, that's a traumatic experience. I don't care what happens. I mean, unless you like just get into an accident you don't remember. Now that I would have like accepted, but then at the same time, you got two people that have the same memory. One, there are two different like views of the memory, but still a memory nonetheless. But none of it was brought up in either three of those conversations. That when you first meet them, the first story you want to tell is about the shadows and stuff. It's like, I would have been like, you took my life, and I come to get it back. This person isn't who you think they is. I would have been like that. Like, I'm not about to sit here and, speaking like tell poetry, tell a story. Like, no, you took me from my family and replaced me and put me down there to suffer for all these years, and I'm pissed off. That's what I would have said. And that's one of the gripes that I have about it, is that it's like it worked if the switch didn't happen. But since the switch happened, why wasn't it brought up in either one of those face-to-faces that the mother had with the other mother, thing one and thing two? It just doesn't make sense. Even at the end when she's telling her about the whole, government and everything else, why didn't you mention that? Like, that would have been the perfect time. But I guess just for the sake of the movie, they were saving that little switch thing for the complete end. And it's like, it just one of those movies that when you go back, certain stuff, it is cool, like I said, with the sand and the tunnels and certain things that you do pick up on. But other things, it's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. And that was just one thing that really frustrated me. But yes, getting back to the whole scene, I was talking with my brother, and he did have my sentiments in there, which didn't come to the forefront of my mind. But I was thinking it while I was in the movie theater, was that a lot of scenes do go on for a long, particularly a long length, to where it makes the movie seem longer than what it was. The scene where where the family meets the doppelgangers for the first time, everything that happened in the scene, whatever, it does carry on for a little bit longer than what it should. Don't get me wrong, it is intense in how it was, put on screen, but it did take a long ass time. It really did. And it made the film feel longer. And then you go from that scene to the next scene with the family, with the other family, the friends, doppelgangers and stuff. It's like that scene just made it seem a little bit longer. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like there was certain things in this movie that could have been done differently, but hey, I mean, I'm not here to, like I said, I'm not trying to make this whole thing just a bash of the film, because I really did enjoy the film. As a horror film, I thought it was good. It wasn't great. I thought it was good, decently enough. I just didn't think it was like great, because it does have those huge flaws in the movie, and that one major flaw is, like I said, you're sacrificing realism to display your art and like the hidden meaning, when it renders the rest of the film, like it makes the rest of the film not make sense, certain parts and all this stuff when you add certain pieces together. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever. And they even kind of like hint towards, the whole thing of them being Americans, when she was like, who are you people? And then she's like, we're Americans, so it just goes along with that logic. Also, the whistling was another thing. When you go back and you kind of, you witness certain things, like the twist, but then you go back. That's one of the things that give away that thing one is the real one, because when you look at it at the beginning, it was one big major clue. When she goes into the house of mirrors, she starts whistling "Twinkle Twinkle," not "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," "Itsy Bitsy Spider," which itself has its own meaning. So whatever, I'm not gonna get into it, but she starts whistling it, and as you can hear, the doppelganger does too. But I don't believe that she did it right. She was just whistling, but she wasn't whistling, Itsy Bitsy Spider. She was just mimicking her, but not really good. So when that scene came at the end, she started whistling not Twinkle. Why I keep about to say Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? She was whistling Itsy Bitsy Spider toward her death. So if like anybody didn't get it, you should have got it by then, because the original was the one who knew how to whistle, Itsy Bitsy Spider. And that's why she started doing it toward the end of her death. And I think more or less that was kind of a nod toward, just us, giving us a clue. One last clue before the final reveal. Like, if you don't get it now with this hint, let's give you this one last hint. And then if you don't get it then fuck it. We're just going to tell you. That's what I kind of looked at it as. And I did like that. And one of the things that go back to just the kid, and I'm going to try and wrap this up real soon. I ain't going to try and make this too long. But yeah, one of the things that go back to the kid was just how it all ended. As far as like him knowing that she was it. And that goes back to the theory that the guy I was talking about earlier, who made the video about the little boy being switched, is like, because I still just logically just looking at it don't really know how he knew that was her. I would think because he got taken by her, that she kind of like told him that like, that's not your mother, this and that, and told him everything, so that he knew everything. And then confirmation at the end when he was kind of like looking at her, like, is that really my mom? This and that and this and that. And when she kind of smiled, kind of gave him confirmation. And then after that, it was like, you know what? Whatever, fuck it. It's like that's his real mom. But I mean, I guess in however you look at it, he knew. So I mean, just whatever. I mean, if you believe that he was switched, hey, whatever. If you believe that he wasn't switched, that she just told him, and that he was just kind of like taken back with it, and ultimately he was just like, you know what, forget it. That is my real mom, so whatever. So I mean, it does make sense however you want to look at it. And then just the overall ending, with them hands across America, it's like, I'm not gonna get into the negative about it, but I mean, as far as like the logistics behind it, but it just, I don't know, I just kind of, I mean, I thought it was okay. I'm not even gonna say I hated it, but it was okay. It was one of those endings that I talked about it with one of my coworkers on Facebook, and she even said that she would want to have a sequel to, have stuff explained, which I feel like if he has a good story for a sequel, okay, then do a sequel. Then you have a lot of unanswered questions. You can answer those questions and everything else, and that would be cool. But what I got from this movie was that it's just simply an open-ended movie, that it doesn't have anything else just to go from. I mean, you could come up with another story that would work, but that was just one of those stories where it was open-ended. It's up to your interpretation of what exactly happened. You can basically kind of hint that this is happening all across America, but so far we just know that it happened in that little area, as well as maybe some miles further. Maybe it haven't gotten to the whole U.S. yet. So, I mean, that's basically what it is. I just thought it was like decent. No need for a sequel. I want Jordan Peele to go to another original project. I know that he's attached to, well, not attached, but like more than likely going to end up doing the new remake of Candyman, which that is completely in his wheelhouse. And if he once he does do that, I'm definitely going to be there. But I would want him to do another original film before he gets to a remake of such or whatnot. But I mean, that's just me. I want to see if he can just knock it out a third time and maybe have this third movie better than the second movie. Because like I stated in my review, this is how I look at it. I do like Us. As a horror film, it's good. Like, taking away all the flaws. I do like it better than, as far as that element. I do like it more than Get Out, because I'm not really a big fan of psychological thrillers. Like, they just don't connect with me. I just don't know why. A lot of psychological thrillers I just don't really like. Babadook can be looked at as a psychological thriller. Did not like that movie. Oculus. Did not like that movie. Even like the movie Bug. That was a psychological thriller. I hated that movie. And I haven't seen it ever since I first saw it, which was like years ago. But I hated that movie. And that was a psychological thriller. So I'm not really good with psychological thrillers. And Get Out was a good movie. I just didn't connect with it like everybody else did, But I did like Us as far as horror aspect over Get Out. But I do recognize that Get Out was more of a better crafted film than Us was. It seemed like Get Out had a smaller story to actually contain everything, and Us was just more ambitious, to where it was like there were some holes in the concrete that couldn't be filled. So that's just my whole take. And just with them being connected, I've heard the theory of them Get Out and being connected, which they kind of made sense, tried to make sense of it, but it's just like, as it was delivered in the video that I watched, it's just a theory. It doesn't it doesn't make any solid connections to Get Out, but it's just literally a theory, and that's what I kind of look at it as. So I don't even pay too much mind to that. I don't think that it's in the same universe. I feel like that probably would have been cool if he would have done what, not even just cinematic universe like, Marvel or DC or anything like that, but just how, what's his name? Stephen King does. A lot of his stories take place in the same universe. It takes place in the same universe as The Shining. They have the connection with The Shining, and The Shine, that's just the psychic ability that certain characters have. In like it and in The Shining, the little boy he can see dead people, blah, blah. And just a lot of his stories, like a lot of characters are in like other stories. Maybe it's like second, third, fourth, secondary characters, third, story characters and stuff like that, but other characters are up in other movies or stories as well, or they're related to another person that's in another story. So it's all connected. So I thought it would have been cool if that would have been the case, but because of how ambitious this second movie was, I really don't want it to be in the same universe. I just want it to be his own little thing, and then that's it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did come out and say that it is connected, because I don't know. It just seemed like something that would probably be decent. But in any case, that's all I really have to say about the whole spoiler thing. I wasn't gonna get into the cracks in the wall, too many of them, because there's a lot of them to get through. But hey, I mean, it is whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed this second edition of the ST podcast. I'm gonna try to do some more or whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna have one else coming out soon. But I know the first episode featuring Captain Marvel, well, me talking about Captain Marvel, is up on my channel already, as well as check out the regular review if you haven't seen the movie. But just to let you guys know, yes, the ST podcast is a spoiler podcast, so look out for it. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, before you guys leave, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. And you see that little bell, make sure you hit that to turn on your notifications. That way you'll be notified for anything that appears on my channel. Hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.